The courtroom was silent until the K9 suddenly lunged. Barking wildly, he broke free from his handler and charged toward the judge's bench. What he found hidden underneath brought the entire room to its feet and exposed a chilling secret no one saw coming. Even the judge was left speechless. The courthouse buzzed with quiet tension as Officer Daniels walked through the marble foyer, his polished boots echoing with each step. At his side trotted Max, his loyal K9 partner, a powerful German shepherd with sharp eyes and a nose that rarely missed anything. Today was supposed to be simple. Daniels had been called to testify in a minor narcotics case, and Max was just along for standard procedure. They'd done this a dozen times before. Walk in, provide evidence, walk out. Nothing unusual. As they passed through the security checkpoint, Max remained alert but calm. He wore his vest labeled Police K9, and the officers at the front desk gave him friendly nods. "Good boy, Max," one guard murmured. Max didn't flinch. He was focused. Inside the courtroom, the gallery was already packed. Lawyers whispered behind folders. The defendant sat stone-faced at the table, and the judge, a stern man named Justice Harold Byrne, prepared his notes. Daniels took his place near the front, resting his hand gently on Max's harness. The bailiff called the room to order. "Please rise." Everyone stood as Judge Byrne entered, robes flowing, face unreadable. He settled behind the massive oak bench with a sigh and banged the gavel. "We'll begin." Daniels glanced down at Max. The dog was unusually still, ears rigid, nose twitching, eyes locked on something near the front. Daniels whispered, "Easy, boy. Stay." But Max didn't blink, and in the next few minutes, that courtroom would become anything but routine. The judge had barely finished his opening remarks when Max let out a low, warning growl. Officer Daniels stiffened, surprised. Max was trained to stay quiet in court, controlled, composed. But now, his ears were pinned back, his muscles coiled like a spring. Daniels placed a calming hand on Max's vest. "What is it, boy?" he whispered. But Max didn't respond. He took a step forward, then another, his nose glued to the floor, tracking something unseen. Suddenly, Max lunged. With a sharp bark, he pulled hard against his leash, dragging Daniels toward the front of the courtroom, straight toward the judge's bench. Papers flew, gasps echoed through the room, and the bailiff leapt from his post. "Control your dog," someone shouted. "I'm trying," Daniels called back, struggling to restrain him, but Max wasn't attacking. He wasn't going after a person. He was fixated on something beneath the judge's bench, scratching, pawing, barking furiously at the wood paneling. The judge rose, startled, gripping the edge of his seat. "What in the world is going on?" he demanded. The entire courtroom was on edge now. Jurors leaning forward, lawyers frozen mid-motion, the defendant wide-eyed and pale. Max's barking grew more frantic, his claws scraping the floor. He was trying to get under the bench. Daniels' instincts kicked in. Max had never behaved this way unless there was something serious, something hidden. "Everyone clear the area," Daniels said firmly. "I think my dog just found something we weren't supposed to see." The room was a mix of stunned silence and hurried motion. Bailiffs moved people back as Officer Daniels knelt beside Max, who was now pawing furiously at a narrow panel beneath the judge's bench. The polished wood looked seamless until Daniels noticed a faint seam, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. Daniels reached down, fingers feeling along the baseboard. With a small push, the panel clicked loose. Behind it, wedged into the dark hollow, was a sleek black briefcase. For a split second, no one spoke. Daniels pulled it out slowly, setting it on the floor. Max circled it once, then sat, alert and still, his signal that the target had been found. "It's not a drill," Daniels muttered. "Max just hit on something real." The judge looked down in disbelief. "That doesn't belong to the court," he said, voice tight. Daniels flipped the cases. Latches. Inside, packed tightly, several bricks of unmarked narcotics, bundles of cash, hundreds, maybe thousands, and a sealed envelope with names and figures scribbled inside. Gasps filled the courtroom. A reporter in the back began scribbling furiously. One of the lawyers dropped his pen. Even the defendant stared, slack-jawed. Daniels turned toward the judge. "Your Honor, someone hid this beneath your bench." The judge's face went pale. He sat back, eyes wide, visibly shaken. "Clear the courtroom," he said quickly. Now, no one knew who had planted it, but one thing was certain. Max had just blown open something far bigger than a simple trial. The courtroom emptied in a rush of confusion and whispers. Reporters were escorted out, cell phones confiscated, and the judge retreated to his chambers, face pale and unreadable. Officer Daniels remained behind with Max, who still sat alert, eyes fixed on the judge's bench like the mission wasn't over. Within the hour, a full security sweep was underway. Surveillance footage from the past 72 hours was pulled, and the courthouse basement and judge's chambers were locked down. Daniels stood beside the lead investigator from Internal Affairs, reviewing footage in a dark room filled with monitors. There, Daniels pointed. The screen showed a janitor entering the courtroom late at night, well past closing hours. He carried what looked like a maintenance toolkit. But when the footage zoomed in, the kit looked bulky. Too bulky. The man knelt near the judge's bench. 32 seconds passed. Then he left. No tools used. No cleaning done. A background check revealed the man wasn't a court employee at all. The badge he'd scanned in with was registered to a clerk, who hadn't shown up to work in 3 days. The judge was briefed in private. His hands trembled as he removed his glasses. "This happened right under me," he whispered. "In my courtroom." Daniels nodded grimly. "And your dog saved it from becoming something much worse." Outside, word was already spreading. The case had gone from routine to explosive. Corruption, contraband, a planted briefcase beneath justice itself. And it had all started with one bark. Why the next morning, headlines blazed across local news sites and social media. K9 uncovers hidden evidence inside courtroom. German Shepherd exposes shocking courthouse scandal. Max's photo, ears perked, vest gleaming, eyes sharp, was everywhere. People couldn't get enough of the heroic dog who'd sniffed out the truth, where no one else had. News crews lined the courthouse steps, hoping for a glimpse of him. Kids mailed letters. Artists sketched his likeness. One bakery even named a cookie after him, the Max Bite. But inside the precinct, Max remained the same, calm, steady, focused. Officer Daniels gave him extra treats and a fresh toy, but Max only cared about one thing: staying by his handler's side. The department held a press conference. Officers stood in full dress uniform. Cameras flashed. The judge himself stepped forward, holding a small velvet box. "Max," he said, voice thick with emotion, "you've reminded us that justice doesn't always wear a robe or carry a badge. Sometimes it walks on 4 legs and barks when something isn't right." He opened the box and revealed a custom-crafted medal, a silver paw print engraved with Max's name and the words "For bravery and service." Max sat quietly as it was clipped to his vest, tail wagging just once, as if he understood. Daniels crouched beside him. "Good boy," he whispered. "You always know." In a world full of noise, it was Max's instinct, pure and unwavering, that cut through the silence. And now, the whole city knew his name.